Welcome, everybody, to the RNG Podcast. This is the first episode of our podcast series. I am your host, Rob of All Games, and we are here with my fellow hosts, Peach and Shots. How are you guys doing this evening?
Good.
Doing all right. Ready to get started?
So, obviously, the topic for the podcast today, for our very first episode, is of course going to be E3. There's a lot to cover on E3. So there's all different press conferences, new games, new hardware. So we're going to probably go from conference to conference and then end up talking about Microsoft and Sony and then choosing our winners and losers of the overall conference. So obviously we have EA, we have Bethesda, we have Ubisoft, so a lot to cover. So let's start off, I guess we'll start off with EA because that was the first conference to start off. Now, obviously EA every year will always do their obligatory sports segment where they show us the new Madden game, the new FIFA game, and this time they introduced the coaches and the Madden Championship. I'm not sure how much do you guys have played any of the Madden or FIFA games?
I played a lot of Madden back in the PS2 days and back in Xbox 360.
I stopped at like 2007. They keep changing it. I mean, it's good. It brings players back, but it's gonna be for those people who want to, when they game, they want to sit down there and play sports games.
It's a lot of replay value, give them that. I mean, as far as the whole campaign modes, as we call them, they've made a lot of changes as far as one. Back when I remember, you couldn't even choose the coaches or whatever. Now you can customize your coach, your playbooks, all that kind of stuff, and literally down to the stadium and the food they sell there these days. So they're just making new innovations and also, of course, updating the graphics and rosters and stuff like that, which is pretty cool for the diehard sports fans. Just for me, not the hugest sports game player anymore since I made the switch over to PC, but it'll definitely keep the diehard Madden fans back for more.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I have a few of the FIFA games back from when I was in college. It's kind of the side effect of having a bazillion roommate.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously got the battles and got big into Ultimate Team. That was always a big thing. I do feel that this segment is a bit long always, because I know it is good for sports fans, but it is a room full of gamers that probably want to see other games.
Other games
on the docket.
Yeah, real gamers will want to see other games that they can, sit there and everyone be engrossed in a good story and stuff like that. But honestly, it's the sports games are made for, having a party and having a bunch of people there who will get hyped over, getting touchdowns, and you know what I mean? Like, it really is kind of a party game in an apartment or a college dorm room type of thing.
That's what it's there for. But as far as that goes, I mean, they pull most of the resources for those recurring franchises because, I mean, they can't count on always having a source of revenue from those two games. So they always want to show off the new kinds of tweaks and improvements they've made just for those titles that they released, obviously, every single year for those, which is, understandable as a marketing strategy. But however, being gamers like ourselves, we want to just get to the stuff that we care about, essentially, which is like the Titanfalls, the Battlefields, the Mass Effects. That's what we want to see from EA.
Exactly. So, speaking about that, they even opened up with Titanfall 2 as the big news. Now, obviously, for Titanfall 1 had quite a history of being overhyped and then crashing hard. So, from this one, we managed to see it's like 6 new Titans they mentioned. We saw some gameplay. We saw more pilot customization, they said.
A few tweaks to gameplay. I think they're adding a better story just to get people more engrossed in it.
Yeah, I think the quote was not like Call of Duty's storyline, essentially. Trying to make it more
Basically.
unique to their mechanics and play style as far as the Titanfall.
And that'll definitely help people get more interested, because I know Titanfall 1, it was a very, very, very small, any sort of story background that you get as to what's happening.
And get it burn out fast.
So hopefully with the changes they made to combat and the different weapons and all the customization and the matchmaking, it'll get, the game will get a little more attention. It won't just be like a failure like Titanfall 1 was, because even though they made a bunch of money, that game didn't last at all. There's still a bunch of people playing it, or not a bunch, but there's still a fan base who plays it daily. But EA needs to look for this game being a lot better than the first one was.
And hopefully Respawn team will bounce back with this release. They said they've made changes to their matchmaking system, introduced something called networks, which essentially, a group of players, you play with somebody that you've met in the match that plays pretty good. Or if you don't want to just deal with the trolls and random matchmaking, just invite a huge group of players into one lobby, and essentially the game finder will make matches based upon that pool of players from that one lobby, so you can just play with people that are used to playing with, instead of having to deal with the randoms or whatever and the problems that might come with that. So that's a cool innovation that they're trying to do. But however, it all depends on how many friends you have playing Titanfall, for an extended period of time, or making friends playing Titanfall. So it all is dependent upon that as well. They're also bringing back a couple of improvements like the smart pistol that people loved and other kind of things. Also trying to look at backwards compatibility for the game as well for Titanfall 2. But that's pretty much we have covered for that. Just want to see if they can bounce back from the little overhyped release of Titanfall. It burned bright, but it didn't last long. That's how I feel about Titanfall.
It's true. I remember I was hyped for Titanfall when it came out. I bought it, I played it, and then something happened, and you just stopped playing.
Just stop.
You just you're not sure why. You just stopped. It was like.
It seemed like everyone was playing for a good 3 months, and then it's like, oh, I'm not playing anymore. It's like,
I still enjoyed the game, but what happened?
It just wasn't it wasn't the multiplayer experience, because it was cool with all the free running and all the jumping and the robot stuff, but then it just kind of fizzled out. Well,
it was the first game in which you could technically wall run in before, they did the whole thing with Black Ops 2 where you could wall run and double jump. So it was the first game in which people were given the more advanced movement and combat system. Yeah. But the way they presented it, it just didn't work like Black Ops 2 did with what they did.
So unfortunate. So
sure. And based on what we saw in the gameplay trailer, everything does look all very smooth. New ways to hop into your a Titan, new grappling hooks and stuff. So everything looks smooth. So I'm hoping for a good turnaround from Respawn and them.
Yeah.
Yep. Only time will tell.
Right. So the next game we have to talk about is Battlefield 1.
Oh yes. Yes.
So,
I think personally, not only it's always been the thing when Battlefield versus Call of Duty came out. It's always been, is this Battlefield going to be the COD killer? If the trailer itself didn't destroy the Call of Duty franchise, this game when it comes out, I think will just be the nail in the coffin. But just compared about the releases and the teasers that's come out in comparison, the support that's been behind it already, and just the more people switching over in the past iterations of the game, as essentially the innovations being made that have been made to Battlefield's multiplayer over the course of years versus Call of Duty's is, ginormous. People want more gameplay. People want, more creativity, more freedom, more, they want destruction. They want to drive vehicles. They don't want to just look at, the pretty graphics do the same stuff. They want, a more open experience, which Battlefield has always catered to and given them. It looks like they'll give them even bigger experience with Battlefield 1 coming out. New classes, new gameplay mechanics, refined graphics and engine, allow even more friends to get out there and cause some mayhem with this.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I started on the Battlefield versus Call of Duty war. I've always been on Call of Duty side for a while, but that was because I started a Modern Warfare So that's kind of why.
You started on the good.
Yeah, exactly.
I started on Call of Duty 3 back in World War II days. That's where I started, and I love that game.
I play
It's
the old Call of Duties, and I like them, but like I skipped over
it's
2, I think.
my problem with my problem with Battlefield 1 is I don't want it to end up like the other ones. So it's really up to EA and how they changed it from Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3's playstyle, because when you're playing Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3, there are the people who you will always get in the game who are always 10 times better than every other player in the match and who will always kill you. So I'm hoping with the changes they made with, having a very simplified, weapon system where you get 3 variations of a weapon with an attachment, and just to kind of negate the whole, elitism thing, kind of.
Well, speaking from one of those players back in the whole Battlefield days, who's climbed the leaderboard pretty high on those, and it was all. I mean, we all had the same kind of variations to do. Like obviously, with more experience came like kit customizations, what to use when, and just as far as it's all became down to the mechanics of the game. All Battlefield One having a more simplified system. Not saying there won't be customizations because obviously there will be customizations as there always have been in Battlefield games, but it seems to be more class specific from what we've seen in the gameplay style. So limit down the customization sometimes, limit down the kits a little bit, and it's just going to come down to that point mechanical skill. However, another problem it could bring, as far as this, I don't want to say dumbing it down a little bit, could be, just the same problem Battlefront had. Too easy to win. Anyone can get up there, spray and pray, and go like 16-0 in the game without any kind of skill required, which people will obviously complain about.
Yeah,
So of course,
I was gonna mention that as well when you talk about limiting the kits. That back when they had Battlefront and they had the beta, that was the big complaint people had, was that there was like 6 guns, and they all pretty much shot almost the same. So
Yeah, but even if you look back at it, everyone wanted, when Battlefront was announced, everyone was very hyped, and you had people like us who were like, yes, Battlefield's going to be very hype. It's the first time we've seen this remake in many years now, but it's being made by EA. It's going to be made almost exactly like a Battlefield game, and that's not what Star Wars wanted.
well, the problem with that's not necessarily the problem. The problem with Battlefront, I believe, is they expect it to be made like a Battlefield game, which means they wanted more customization, and instead they got a worse version of the Battlefront games we had on the other consoles. They expected, I
Yeah.
guess, to have their base classes but have a bunch of customization kits like they gave in like Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, but we didn't get. And instead, it was just an EA watered down version of the old Battlefront games, which didn't pan out too well as far as longevity wise.
Yes.
So that's
So
what I think that was.
it really comes down, because EA's tried to do this before. They've tried to try and rework how they've released games, where they're just like, okay, we put out Battlefield 3 and 4, and those were big hits, but people need variety. So I'm hoping they finally got their technique on bringing variety but keeping it the way everybody likes it down.
Yeah, and honestly, the problem it's a tough thing because, like you said, I mean, Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 and Bad Company, customizations. Yes, it was available to everybody, but obviously, if you had the right gear and then you had a mechanical, knowledge, you obviously had a huge advantage over other players. Speaking for myself and other players that play, especially if you're playing on the PC, obviously you'll get a bit more competition on the PC, but especially if you came to console, it could be sometimes lower fest. Sometimes you go once a game, and your team's losing by 20 to like another team is just completely better than you.
And
So I mean, there's a balancing issue as far as what do we
that's
want to do? Do you want to give players a freedom and abuse of freedom, or do you want to dumb it down and just have lose the experience a little bit?
uh,
So it's all kind of we'll see what they do in Battlefield One. From what I've seen the gameplay, it seems to be pretty friendly so far, but we'll only know once it hits markets and people start getting their hands on it and doing some real stuff. So we'll
that
know
that needs to be the thing as well, is because Battlefield 1, obviously when it hits, there are going to be people who are like, it's way too expensive, I don't want to buy it at the moment. So what really needs to happen is it needs to be to the point where a new player can pick it up 3-4 months down the road and be able to still perform well enough to the point to where, people who bought it the first day of release don't absolutely destroy them because they've been playing for 4 months and they have everything unlocked and they have everything at their utility basically.
Gotcha. As far as the balancing system where they can still do well, obviously there's going to be some disparities because they have more stuff unlocked, but they still will be able to at least defend themselves, which you're right.
Yes.
And honestly, I'm still a fan of the whole experience equals gear system, just like there was in Battlefield 4 and other things, Battlefield Bad Company as well, where the more kills you get with a weapon, the more experience you get.
Yeah.
The more kills you get, the more stuff you unlock with that said weapon. Yeah, you'll start off with like a basic stuff. But however, if you want to change classes or get a different gun, you also have to put yourself at a disadvantage to get kills with that gun. And by doing that, it also allows you to learn the ins and outs of that one weapon, because you have to get X amount of kills with that. So it lets you learn a little bit more about the class and the games and different weapons to try out, which is good, which promotes, more competitive gameplay, which I do like. So I hope they go back to that system again as far as, weapon customizations and progression in Battlefield
Yeah.
1, which I really liked.
I mean, I also, just to wrap up the Battlefield talk, just find it funny that Battlefield's new game, they're going to World War One. Call of Duty's new game, we're in space.
Yeah, going to space.
Like, it's the exact opposite spectrum of like gameplay.
Which is why people think that Battlefield 1 will be the COD killer, is because people, like, with the direction that COD has been going, people are literally tired of going more and more into the future. They're just like, we want, we would rather have our Black Ops 1 remake back, or, stuff like that, instead of just keep going and trying to cram more
like we don't
advanced
care about
stuff.
The future. We care about good,
Yeah. So we'll get to that topic later on.
Speaking of space, we have the ever anticipated Mass Effect Andromeda that was announced at the EA press conference. And so personally, I have mixed feelings about this game. I love the Mass Effect franchise, and us coming from SWTOR, we have a bit of a history with BioWare, up and down. But they do Mass Effect games really well. Now, before continuing about this, we've all played Mass Effect 3, correct?
Yes.
Now,
have you played it, Rex?
I have played it. I will admit that I did not actually finish it. I do know about the ending, so
okay. So I beat it with the ending before the whole thing released, where it's like, hey, we'll give you a better ending for free, essentially, where we got that really melodramatic kind of.
Yeah.
Now that ending itself, I honestly, it did it turned me off a little bit to the series. Like I felt like
I know people were very, very angry about the original ending to Mass Effect 3. They felt cheated, essentially. So I'm hoping Andromeda will be everything the Mass Effect fans need to basically still have faith in Mass Effect.
Now that being said,
the trailer looks amazing for the game.
It does. Yeah, it's gonna look good.
The new animations, the new facial expressions that characters are going to be given, the new dialogue, the new worlds, everything looks very well put together.
Well, the thing is, I'm still worried about the story, considering obviously this is a new frontier, new different Mass Effect thing. I want to know, especially how it will fit in, especially after ending of Mass Effect 3, from what I remember, how it will fit in to this whole thing. Obviously, we're to get behind it, but I don't know if we're going to play Commander Shepard or if we're going to play someone else. But I'm obviously ready. I want to see how it fits into the whole storyline. Where are we going from this? Is this going to be a closing, or is it going to be a starting of a new chapter? That's really what I want to know. Like the Mass Effect sequels have always been, I mean, they've been good, but they've been kind of mired in a little bit of disappointment. The Mass Effect 1 was a hit. Mass Effect 2 was good, but they were like, oh, it wasn't as good as number 1.
It took the same stance that the Dead Space series did. Like, everybody loved 1 and 2, but 3 was just not what they wanted at all.
And even with 2 and 3, like they've never been bad games. Always been good games, but they've always like, oh, I wish it was like 1. And 2 people like wish it was like 1. And 3 came out, oh, I wish it was like 2. I wish it was like 1. So
I think that as the games progressed, that they started to get a bit away from the story. I think when they introduced multiplayer. They were trying to go. I think they were trying to push that a bit more. But in terms of the story that you mentioned, from what I read, Andromeda's not going to base on whatever ending you picked. For Mass Effect 3, it's gonna be a whole new story. So that's how they got around the whole ending drama. But I'm definitely looking forward to Andromeda. I'm gonna probably pick it up.
Hopefully, we get some gameplay footage this fall. We'll see what it's looking like as far as mechanics wise, what new stuff is coming out.
Hopefully,
unfortunately, all we got was like a behind the scenes look and a little trailer.
Yeah, hopefully they'll drop like a copy for streamers to get an early look at, so we can have everybody can have a little extra look at the game before they decide whether they want to buy it or not.
And that will all, and that footage will be very important to the success, because people are kind of on, maybe we want the game to come out, but we're kind of on a nice edge with it already, especially after 3. So we want us to have something. Give us something now, BioWare. Give us what you've got. That's what we're waiting on. So we're anticipation forward. There's not much to talk about because we didn't get much from them, but once the game hits, we'll recover about that and give our thoughts more as more stuff is released about Andromeda.
So the only last thing that really came from. Wait, do you have anything else on Mass Effect or?
No. As far as the rest of the press conference goes, they're kind of trying to hold on to their other franchises like Battlefront. I mean, they announced new DLC and maps, but my opinion on that is honestly they should just let it go. Like, the player base for Battlefront has dwindled down, especially on PC. I know it takes at least 20 minutes to find a game on PC now. It's still kind of kicking on console, mainly because it's console. But other than that, it's,
Yeah, and they play that whole EA, like, Star Wars video segment. And also, for our SWTOR people, if you guys not see that brief appearance of Musco at his desk in the video. But sadly there's no news from actual Old Republic or anything of that nature.
That's like, please BioWare, stop. Like, people still play Tor. We don't need more Battlefront.